Hey, you awesome folks! Thanks for taking this journey of discovery with your guide, Keith Haney. You're listening to the Becoming Bridge Builders podcast, your favorite podcast for everything from racial reconciliation to education innovation, justice reform, and leading change in the 21st century. This podcast is for people who love to be challenged with difficult topics, but want practical solutions to solve these challenging issues. Becoming Bridge Builders makes change possible. Each week on the podcast, Keith invites innovative thought leaders to share how they are building bridges in their area of expertise. You will hear breakthrough ideas and concepts that are changing the world. He's featuring guests who are best-selling authors, leaders at Microsoft, entrepreneurs, leading educators, professors, lawyers, and so many more. Listen in to learn how you can be the bridge to the change you are seeking.
My guest today is Robert Indries. He was born in a modest family in a small town in Transylvania, Romania. He spent the first part of his life on farms, caring for livestock and working the land. When Robert was young, his family told him, "If you want to learn, you can learn in any school." That's the preschool version. You can achieve anything you want, no matter where you are right now. And that's exactly what he continues to believe. Traveling gave him an ideal vantage point to observe common mistakes and successes in businesses on a worldwide scale. This mindset has helped him to build an empire of 8 businesses, generating 7-figure yearly travel of over 100,000 miles, visiting 17 countries, speaking in front of thousands of people in 3 different languages, and maintaining a loving relationship with his gift from God, Diana, and their close family and friends. Through these years, he's also generated over $500 million in business value for his clients and delivered over 200 projects for clients in 19 different sectors. We welcome Robert to the podcast. Well, it's so good to have you on the show, Robert. How are you doing today?
Very well. Thank you so much, and thank you for having me.
I'm so glad you're calling in from Transylvania so all my audience can know how the vampire werewolf population is doing in your area.
They're vibrant, very healthy, very good, good spirits.
Well, you want them in good spirits. You don't want them angry at you. So.
Yeah. 2020 was a very good year. They could just roam freely. Everyone was at home. They could do whatever they wanted.
That's right. Oh, my word. That's too funny. Robert, I always like to ask my guests a question, kind of get to know you a little bit better. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Wow. The best piece of advice I think that I've ever had is to take 100% responsibility for everything in my life. Good, bad, whatever, it doesn't matter, everything. If my relationship is in a certain way, whatever that way is, it's my responsibility. I created that. Through doing things or not doing things, through saying things or not saying things, I created that. The same with my career, the same with my finances, the same with everything in my world. After, maybe you can't say that when you're 3 years old, but if you're 30, 40, you've sort of created everything that you have in your life by that point, right? Even in your early 20s, you can say, that you are starting to create everything that you have.
You can't blame people that way if you take that approach to life.
Exactly. You can't blame anyone else, which, now forces you to focus on yourself. I've had a very, very interesting conversation not so long ago where the insight was that if we focus on looking at others and helping them get better, what we are doing is we're basically taking the focal point off of ourselves and putting it onto someone else because, they could do something better. Yeah, 100% they can do something better, but focus on yourself. Just work on yourself. And obviously, if you're a manager, you have to tell people what they need to do better, right? It's part of your duties. It's a responsibility.
Right.
What I'm talking about is the day-to-day engagements, right? So if some of your friends could do better, you can tell them. But telling them doesn't mean that you change your focal point. Telling them just means that, okay, let's say they do some things that I don't like. Am I being a good example in that? Right? Am I showing them a different way of being that they can then aspire towards right? So that they stop doing whatever it is that they're doing that's not good for themselves, their community, their family, or anything like
See, you're just ruining so many people who like to blame other people for their problems. It's just like this take a responsibility thing. It isn't going to be popular. I can see the audience now going, see, I didn't like that part.
Yeah. There's another little metaphor, that someone told me many years ago. If you point fingers at someone, if you blame them, typically when you blame something else or someone else, right? My coworker, my spouse, the government, the job, the whatever, right? That way. Secondly, you blame God for whatever, you
Right.
weren't bestowed enough. You were like, you don't have enough, whatever you think, not enough money, not enough whatever, like God's, to blame as well. However, 3 fingers are towards you.
Right.
When you point like that, 3 fingers are always towards you. So you're 3 times more responsible than any one of these 2, right? Yes, if someone hits you by accident with the car whilst you're driving, maybe not your fault. Okay, someone else hit you. Okay, you can say that. Maybe it's God as well, changing, derailing your schedule, right? Yes, because you should have been meeting someone, but you didn't because this accident happened. Okay, yeah. But 3 of those is you. Did you leave on time? Did you buy the car that has the right safety things? Do you have insurance? Like all of those things are still for you, right? So you are much more responsible than anyone else that you could ever blame, right? And when I say much more, I'm like, okay, blame 2%. It's 1% someone else, 1% God, and 98% you.
Right. I like that. I'm always curious, Robert, people like yourself who've achieved levels of success in their life, there are always people who were involved in our lives who either inspired us or were mentors for us. Who are some of the people in your life that you could think of that played an important role in your development?
There are literal hundreds of them. And I can mention a few of them or a few dozen. I had my mom, obviously, very, very important. I learned a lot of things from her. Let me not be general. So for mom, I learned never-ending love for everyone and everything, never-ending forgiveness for, again, everyone and everything. I've never seen someone be so loving in my life like her. From my father, I learned education and the importance of education and investing in education. We never had money to buy anything, but we always had money to buy books. Books I could buy, but anything else was off limits. From my aunt, I learned the importance of being productive and always taking responsibility, not as much as I said earlier, but to the extent that, hey, if I want my house to be clean, I need to clean it. Hey, if I want a better career, I need to do something about it, right? And she would always tell me, she told me at least 1,000 times, there is nothing you can't do. She would literally tell me, there's nothing you can't do. Because I would say, I can't do that. Like, I can't jump as high or I can't do this or whatever. She's like, there's nothing you can do. And she just kept saying that. I got a lot of help from many teachers across the ages. I remember my physics teacher, very, very helpful because I learned humor from him. And because he was teaching physics, very exact science.
Right.
He was very humorous about everything that was going on. And he was making jokes like, as if it's not enough that it explodes, you also have a shock wave of air going everywhere else, just moving things that were otherwise just staying there and minding their own business. So he was very funny, and he would explain physics concepts very nicely. I had very good other teachers in, civil engineering and so on and so forth. My grandfather, I learned the love of the craft from him. He was a woodworker. He would build anything you would need out of wood, and it was gorgeous. I couldn't believe it. I would spend so much time, hours, just looking at him carve, and I couldn't believe the end result. Like, oh, how did you know that if you do this, then this comes out? It's just so cool. It was so cool to see. I learned the value of dedicating your life to service from my grandmother. she was a cleaning lady in the hospital, right? And so she would always do like whatever would need to be done, because cleaning ladies, especially a while ago, maybe now no, but like 50 years ago, they would basically be like the admin of the building. Like they would do everything that would need to be done. And if someone needs a towel, they would just go catch it, get the towel, and bring it, and so on. So it was she was very good with that, and she would take that and do the same thing at home. She would always care for me and be there and allow me to do my things and so on. I learned a lot from my previous romantic relationships, of what to do and what not to do, what to say and what not to say. So many things, incredible. And you really do learn. If you have an open mind and if you don't have ego, you really do learn from every engagement. That's important, at least, because obviously you might not learn from someone you just see for a few seconds on the street. But I mean, if you spend a few years romantically being in love with someone, then if you're open, you will see parts of yourself that you really don't like reflected in them, right? And it takes a certain level of maturity to say, actually, everything I hate about you is things that I don't want to deal with in myself.
Right.
And so that takes a little bit of time, right? To some people, it might take a little bit. To me, it took like a long time, like years, to figure out that everything I don't like in others are the things in myself that I don't want to believe I have, to a certain extent. And it's not easy to take 100% responsibility. I've tried at one point. I said, okay, starting now, I will take 100% responsibility. I couldn't take it. I swear. I 3 weeks. I couldn't. After 3 weeks, I was done. It was exhausting to take responsibility for everything. I just couldn't anymore. Like, I can't just, give me a slice of pizza. I can't just, I don't care. I can't just, it was so difficult because we're not used to operating like that. No one teaches us to take full responsibility for everything in our life because, they're the teachers, they're the mothers, they're the fathers, they're whatever. Yeah, it's fine. That's fine. Oh, you couldn't do that. It's fine. And so on. There's actually a good movie on it. It's called Whiplash.
Oh yeah,
with the drummer and the guy that's torturing the guy like crazy just so he becomes the best drummer of his decade, like in that period of time. I disagree with people being so aggressive and so mean and so on and so forth, but the message that guy says is worth its weight in gold, because this generation or the past 1 or 2 generations invented the participatory diploma,
right?
Like you would get the reward just for participation,
just for showing up,
which defeats the purpose. It's like, exactly, just for showing up. Like, that's not difficult in no way, shape, or form. Is it difficult to be the last guy in a race? It's just, you shouldn't get you shouldn't be rewarded. Okay, you're rewarded for trying. I understand the concept. I understand where it comes from, but it diminishes, that part of us that says, I could do so much more. I could be more. I could, because now you're just happy. Oh, I won a participatory diploma, for being, the 175th person, in the race. Like, yeah, okay, fine. Well done. Bravo. You could have obviously done much better, So, I do believe there are many, many things like that we could, learn from and do better on. It's just, you need to be open about it and say that, okay, every colleague, every friend, every enemy, if you believe in that, or every person that wants my harm or wants the harm of others, I can learn something from all of them.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
And now a word from one of our sponsors, For Freedom Mobile. If you're using AT&T, Verizon, or T-Mobile, then you're being tracked. Mobile providers collect your location, communications, internet activity, even your financial transaction. They sell that data to anyone willing to pay for it and provide it to the government without a warrant. Switch to For Freedom Mobile and you won't ever have to worry about big tech or big brother tracking you through your mobile phone again. 4Freedom Mobile provides secure, unlimited talk, text, and high-speed data for just $29.99 a month, and it includes free internet roaming in over 200 countries. Sign up for the service by visiting 4freedommobile.com and using the promo code BRIDGEBUILDERS to get your first month for only $9.99. See 4freedommobile.com for details, just like the number 4, freedommobile.com. Right. I'm curious about your story. Tell us how you got from a small town in Transylvania to where you are today.
Well, that's a very long story. I won't have time to go through all of it. The short answer is that I was born into a family of love. I was fortunate enough to have both of my parents, which isn't the case in many instances. And even if you do have both your parents, in many cases, one of them isn't loving, and we know what I'm talking about. And so I've had the fortune to have two loving parents. And I didn't agree with my father, and he was a retired army general. So he was much, much more disciplinary than my mother. And so I left my house when I was 14 because I couldn't take it. I can't stand your rules anymore. I'm leaving. Just sorry. It's just not for me. It's like, you need to go to bed at 10. And I'm not tired at 10. I don't want to go to bed at 10, and we'd have arguments, like hundreds of useless arguments, as I felt, and with many other things. And I don't want to do this your way. Just please understand. And it just didn't work. So I just left. I left my house when I was 14. And, I was in an argument with my father. And then I needed to get odd jobs to sustain myself and to make money, right? So I was a lumberjack at one point. I was building furniture at another point. I was on a production line at one point, just assembling things on the assembly line, and so on and so forth. And then at one point, I started building engineering products, hardware and software. We've built anything from autonomous flying drones to dermatology sensors to all types of cool things that, or at least I consider cool. It's just, I'm very geeky, by the way. It might not come out, but I'm incredibly geeky. I have Grogu here, and Groot to prove it.
Oh yeah, I like those. Those are my favorite movies.
Yeah. So I'm very, very geeky, and I love building stuff. So I really am an engineer at heart, and I just did that. And there has been and continues to be a lot of money in engineering, in building things. It's not a skill set that many people have. Even the engineers, like you look at many people that have engineering degrees, 90% of them are incompetent. And I don't want to exaggerate when I say that. We've tried. We've hired so many engineers, and so many of them outright lie in their CVs. Like, it's just so puffed up, and it's crazy. And you can't tell because they know how to say the right things. They literally train to be good in an interview. They literally pay people to write good CVs and train them for the interview, when in fact they're just not good at the work. Because if they would be good at the work, they wouldn't need to pay people to train them to have an interview, because there's such a huge need for competent individuals. Like, all of those people that are getting rich training people to go to interviews, they're doing such a disservice to humanity, because now we're hiring people that are doing amazing in the interview, and then you hire them, and a week later you're like, who are you? Did I talk to your twin brother or something a week ago? It just makes no sense. So, but yeah, coming back, I started doing engineering and so on. And so I started like that. And then after that, I realized I can use engineering to build business, because business is procedures and systems, and doing the same thing the same way every single time, and improving on that, right? This constant and never-ending improvement, which I love in engineering as well. Okay, we build the car. How can you get faster, better, safer? It's a very engineering thing to do. And so I love engineering businesses to perfection. And so right now, so far we've had 11 businesses, 3 of them we've sold already. We have still 8 in our portfolio. We operate in 19 different sectors in over 18 different countries. And we have, I don't know, thousands and thousands of clients all over the world. And they're all different businesses. So one's an engineering business, one's a marketing business, one's a management business where we literally manage other people's businesses for them. Like, let's say if it's a business owner that's making whatever, 2 million a year and they can't, like, they just don't want to do all of the work anymore. They hire us and then we do the management, like we manage the work for them, like the business, and they either take off completely, retire, or they help us in other parts of the business where they want to actually add value, parts of the business that they love adding value in. And so far, in terms of services, we've generated over $500 million in value for our clients, in over 300 companies that we've helped so far. Some of them small, and we've helped them make millions. Others big, we've helped make tens of millions or hundreds of millions. So it's very cool to see. And other businesses are, I have an Airbnb for luggage that started in Manchester, and now we have over 80 locations in the UK. Last year we went to the US. Now we have over 15 locations in the US, and this year we opened 4 other countries in Europe. Another business is a card game for couples, and it's the world's first truly replayable card game for couples. And we actually won an award last year on it. It was the most innovative game of the year award in the UK, so that was great. That business was built in Sheffield, that's why it won the award there. And then so on and so forth. An HR company we have, and various other things. Business that is like software for companies so that they can manage their teams on, and so on and so forth. It's just, I don't know, anything I like to do. And in terms of exits, last year, for example, our last exit was a software we've built in the marketing sphere. Marketing is very, very competitive, but I love competitive spheres because that means there's demand. Wherever there's competition, means there's demand. And typically I out-compete everyone in an industry. So I love those industries. I just go into them like head on. And so we built a software because we can build it. And we have the marketing team, we can market it, right? So any business I want to start, I can build it, market it, manage it. Like I can just do anything there. I just need capital to actually make it happen. And so either my own capital or investors or whatever, but basically we can scale anything. So that business, we worked on it for like 6 months, more or less. We worked on it for 4 months. Then we launched. Then in the first 2 months, we made $250,000, which was crazy.
Wow.
And then we got the buyout offer at the end of month 2. And by the end of month 3, it was already sold for 8 figures. So it was a very good experience. And I was looking at everyone is like, this is a good offer. This is a very good offer. Like, okay, fine. Let's just call it a day, because we wanted to keep growing that business like we want all of our businesses. But when you get such a good offer, you're like, okay, let me sell you this. Let you have that. And by the way, since then, it more than 3x'd in value since then. So it's been a year.
Wow.
And so now I'm looking to start my next venture. So I'm just raising capital for that one. I literally just started last week. So I emailed like 5 people or something like that so far about it. And then I'll raise some capital, and then I'll start my next venture, which I hope to pass 9 figures. And that's 100 million in the next 7 years, if I can, with that one. So that's at least the goal. If I hit half of that goal, I'll still be making 50 million. So I'll be more than fine by hitting half of my conservative goal.
Right.
So it won't be a problem.
I want to go back to something you mentioned. I kind of curious as to what your thoughts are. You mentioned that a lot of engineers that you hire aren't good at their job. Why is that? What are you discovering maybe in their education or in their training that's lacking that you're looking for?
So a few things. Number one, many people that are engineers shouldn't be that in the first place. They have become engineers by social pressure in one form or another. Either their mom said, you need to be an engineer, right? Because there's a lot of money, blah, 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 blah. Or they themselves said, I need to be an engineer because there's a lot of money. Just you can make money in anything. Just stop choosing careers based on money. Choose it based on what you actually love doing, because then either way you're going to make money and you're actually going to enjoy your life, which, by the way, is the most important part of living life, right? So that's number one. They shouldn't be engineers in the first place. Number two, they're not smart. I'll tell you very honestly, you need an engineering brain, logical brain. You need to be very good at this. You can't just, some people cannot, as good as their intentions are, as good as their desire is to become an engineer, they're just simply not smart enough in this specific vein. They might have physical smarts, like they could be an Olympic athlete. They might have, social smarts, like they can, wing their way in any social interaction, or they can negotiate, or whatever. But specifically engineering smarts, not everyone has, and not everyone should have. We shouldn't all be engineers. The world would just already be, living on 3 planets by now if everyone would be engineers. Just literally everything would be robots and automation and so on. But we do have people, that just lay back and write stories. They write Harry Potter, they write Lord of the Rings, they want, Guardians of the Galaxy, they write whatever. And we as engineers appreciate that, because sometimes, I think for 18 hours a day, I want to watch something stupid. I don't want to be mean, but I want to watch something that's physically inaccurate. This can't possibly be true. I love it. It's just show me that. And I remember I had this conversation with my wife, because I can't watch violent. I can't is a lot said, but I really dislike watching violent movies, because it's like, why the violence? Why the torture? Like, I can't even remember the last time I saw a horror movie. I kid you not. I watched 2 episodes of Game of Thrones and I couldn't stand it. It's like, why? So much backstabbing, so much hate, so much violence. I can't. It's just so bad, And then, and this same person doesn't mind watching, like fiction, like Lord of the Rings type of violence of orcs and elves and whatever. And I remember my wife saying, because again, your spouses catch all of your BS. Like, it doesn't matter, like anything. Like, did you like that movie? I'm like, I loved it. It was amazing. I loved every part of it. It's like, okay, do you know that was very violent? And then I stopped to think, yeah, someone died every other minute. Yeah, that's true. That was very violent. I was like, why did you not consider this violent? And then I think, well, because I know it's not true. I know it's fiction, right? That, I swear, it's as simple as that. It's stupid. It makes no sense. And it shouldn't make sense, because it's still violence. At the end of the day, violence is still depicted. War is still depicted. Backstabbing is still depicted. But because it's like a creature that doesn't exist, fighting with another creature or whatever, I know it's fiction. I know it's just whatever is going on there. So at the end of the day, what I want to say is that some people don't have an engineering mind. They can be amazing in building movies. They can be amazing in writing scripts. They can be amazing in anything else. Poetry, maybe. Who knows? I don't know. But look into yourself. Ask God if you don't have the insight already, because God will tell you, you're good at this. They'll immediately he'll tell you. Whenever, like, what should I do with my life? Boom, like that. It's just instant. If you really pray with sincerity, he'll tell you immediately. Whether you actually do what he says you should do or not, and now that's a totally different ballgame. But so number one, they shouldn't be engineers in the first place. Number two, they are not competent. They are not smart enough as engineers. And then number three, they are lazy. The vast majority of people nowadays are used to be lazy. This was not a problem 15 years ago. I kid you not. When I was first hiring people, when I was younger, no one was lazy. Everyone was happy to have a job. Everyone loved the opportunity to make money. Everyone loved the opportunity to grow in their career. They didn't ask for bonuses. They didn't ask for trade. They would just love working. They just love doing things. And I would just love working with them. It was amazing. Now, crazy. Like the type of pretentiousness that you see is outstanding. It's just we have a saying in Romanian. The natural translation is I was dumbstruck. Yes, that's in English. I was like yeah, like you're so stricken by the stupidity of what you heard. It's like you don't. Are they serious? Do they mean that? Like, for example, we had someone. This was like, obviously we let them go a long time ago, but we had someone that had a client call, and they weren't coming, and the client emailed them and texted them and whatever. At one point, they called them because they had their number. Like, where are you? And they said, "Oh, I'm walking my dog." I kid you not. That was their answer. And she was like, "But we have the meeting starting 15 minutes ago." Well, yeah, but my dog needed to go out. and you don't even know what to say. I mean, okay, your dog needed to go out, but you had the meeting. Why didn't you tell anyone that you have no intention of joining the meeting? At least have the courtesy to say that. And they didn't. I kid you not. And they considered it perfectly natural for them to prioritize their dog walking from being on the meeting with the client and letting the client just stay there. And then, by the way, it was difficult for us to fire them because laws are in favor of the employee. Wow. Interestingly enough, right? And it's skewed. The law is skewed in favor of the employee. It's clear. Everyone knows. Everyone in business knows this. Even the employees know this. That if they sue a company, their chances of winning the lawsuit is higher than of the company winning against them, right? And this is not justice. Justice should be just. It should be ethical. But we couldn't fire that person. It was very difficult to let them go because they were performing their duties at a very poor level of quality. Even though it said that the duties need to be performed at a very high level of quality as in comparison to, what is expected in that role and so on and so forth. But guess what? Because they would have 3 meetings a week with the client. If they would miss 1 or 2 of them, they still made 1 or 2 meetings, right? And so you can't fire them for not making meetings because they did make meetings. And what are you talking about? They need to make all of the meetings. And if they don't make all of the meetings, they need to say in advance why they're not going to make the meeting. And so it's just stupid. You actually need to prove this stuff. I'm sorry, to court and to whatever. But you literally need to prove that they are either charlatans or lying or lazy or anything like that. So that's the third thing, why they're not good. And then otherwise, let me tell you the opposite. So number 1, if you're very passionate about engineering, number 2, you're very smart, and number 3, you're very hardworking, definitely you should be an engineer. Please apply to my companies, please. We can't get enough of you, right? We need as many as we can. And then we just build amazing stuff together. That's it.
You just have identified something I've noticed in the workforce today. So as a company, how are you adapting in your hiring practices or even in the front end? So you just said it's hard to get rid of a bad employee. So what are you doing on the front end to do better screening, better recruitment of the right kind of employees for you?
So something we do now is our recruiting and hiring process now is, I kid you not, over 140 steps.
Wow.
Only after all of these 140 steps is someone hired with us, right? With all benefits and so on. So we have multiple interviews. We have interviews to test culture fit. We have interviews to test technical capability. We have tests that we give people. If they're an engineer, we give them an engineering test. If they're a content writer, we ask them to write an article, right? And so on and so forth. Like everything that we would need them to actually do in the day-to-day, we would give them tests on and see if they're good. After that, we would hire them on a trial basis. Once they do good on the trial, we would then hire them for a project basis. And then after that, we would hire them long-term, right? And even when we hire them long-term, there's a specific contractual wording that says hired indefinitely, right? Which then makes literally all the laws against you. Every law is against you in the book. Every employee law is against you when you say employed indefinitely. Never again will we do that. Every single employee has a 1-year contract or a 3-month contract or whatever. So worst case scenario, their contract literally just ends. Like if I can't get rid of them, in 2 months, fine, it's just going to be done. I pay them for 2 more months and I'm done. But basically what we do is when people don't do, like we have SOWs now, statements of work. So we say, what do you need to do? This and this and this. How much time will you dedicate? This much time. And then we have them date and sign their commitment to doing this work by this time at this budget. And they sign. Every single person signs on their work. And when they sign their work, then they can do the work. If they don't sign the work, they can't do the work. So we won't pay them. And that's in the contract, right? And so also in the contract, it says that if the work is not at the sufficient level of quality determined unilaterally by us that the quality is there, then you don't get paid for that work. And so you can sue me all you want because the contract is very clear. I determine if the quality is there. If you had to make 3 meetings and you only made 2, I'm sorry, the quality wasn't there. I'm not paying you for the meetings. Next time, make the meetings, right? Of course, this can sound one-sided, but the only reason companies have to have one-sided contracts is because the law is against you. If you get to court with an employee, the employee has more rights than you have. So it's obvious that the only way you can counterbalance that is by having things that you can unilaterally decide on. For example, the quality of the work, what it means to how much I pay you, until when am I paying you, if I decide if I want to pay you or not, and so on and so forth, right? So far, we've always paid people that have done the work. We've had issues when we couldn't meet financially, couldn't make payments on things, but then we would agree on payment plans and then we would pay later and so on and so forth. So we have done things like that because it doesn't matter how much you foresee things. You can't foresee a global pandemic, right? You can't foresee all of the negative effects of something like that. Let's say you can foresee it because Bill Gates did foresee it 5 years before it happened. And he actually said, if we do this in the next 5 years, we won't have a problem with the global pandemic. And guess what? No one did anything about that. And then, we actually faced all of the consequences he said in a TEDx. I kid you not, you can search it. 5 years before, the global pandemic, he said, the global pandemic is imminent. This is the way to prepare for it and to be ready for it, right? And so we can prevent it, but foresee it, but prevention is very different. And the aftermath of that, it just like you can't say 100% of what will happen. Ships not being able to port, people not being able to buy your product. You having to close shop, you having to close offices. It's just things that you can't expect and don't know how to deal with. And then you figure it out as you go. And then if goodness is there on both the companies and the employee side, you will make it work all the time.
I like that because I've been trying to figure out, a lot of companies have been struggling with some of the things you're talking about. I think what you gave us some pretty practical ways to do it. It's time consuming, but the other side of that is if you don't do it, you're looking for a trouble down the road.
Yeah. And that's why we are managing companies for other companies, because many times it's literally not a case of you don't know what to do. You literally don't have enough hours in the day to do everything you should be doing. That's why we come in and do a deep analysis of everything in the business and say, okay, you have issues with these 200 things. And 200 isn't an exaggerated number, by the way.
Right.
You have issues with these 200 things in your business right now. And so in order of priority, this is what we think we should do and how we should do them and so on and so forth. And then we have those conversations and we start implementing. So we like to say that we are the ants of society, of the productive workforce. We need visionaries, people that do good things and, want to do this and that and help people or help animals or help whatever they want to do, help the planet, help, us become an interplanetary species. doesn't matter what you want to do, right? As long as it's ethical, of course. We are the ants that help you build it, market it, and manage it. It's just we are the guys in the back. Almost no one knows we exist. It's literally like we're not like SpaceX. You wouldn't even know if we're helping SpaceX. Let me be frank.
Right.
No one would know that we are helping Elon with whatever it is that he's doing, because we don't talk about that. We have it. Like we have, some of the biggest banks on the planet that we've worked with and we've built tech for. We have like insurance companies that we work with. We have real estate. We have lifestyle companies, like yoga centers and things like that. We have, what's it called? Automotive, anything you could think of, like 19 different industries that we've helped. And it's really is beautiful to see that where there's no ego, like you don't care who gets the credit, just everyone can just grow much better.
I love it. I was like my guest this question. As you think about what you're doing now and kind of when this is all over, what do you want your legacy to be?
Legacy. I'm going to give you an answer that might not be the best. I don't know if it'll resonate with anyone, but I am too young to tell you what I want my legacy to be. I believe, based on stats, that I will live to be over 100, whether that's 120 or 150 or 200 by the time, who knows what they will invent. But I'm right now, so I was born poor, then I passed $1 million when I was 25, and then I passed 10 million when I was 30, going to 31. I'm now 32. And so for me to decide now what my legacy is going to be, I feel would be premature, right? And so I don't want even to think that I know. I don't know what my legacy is going to be. What I do know is that as long as I pray for wisdom, pray for insights, pray for, to be on the right path, to add value, to help others, to do everything that I am doing, the path will show itself to me. And so whatever businesses I have right now, I have 8 businesses in certain industries. 20 years from now, I might have none of these 8. I might be doing something completely different. I might be a teacher at the university. I might be a rocket scientist. I might be, a nurse at the hospital. I don't know what I'm going to do. I might own the hospital and just provide healthcare for the rest of my life, and that's it. I don't know what my legacy is going to be. What I do want is for the world to be a better place because I lived in it than without me. That I know for sure. That I feel in all of my cells that I want to do. Other than that, the specifics, I'll let future dictate that.
That's great. Where can my listeners find you, especially companies who I'd love to have them come along and help me do what we do. And where can they find you on social media?
Well, if they Google my full name, Robert Indries, they should find, my website, my socials, I should be, so many things have already happened. I'm so grateful. A few years ago, entrepreneur.com did a documentary on me. They featured me as an international tycoon. That was cool. I think I was 27 at the time. I was already featured within the documentary. So I love that. It was very, very good. And then basically, if anyone wants to reach me directly, if I can help them grow their business or their careers or things of that nature, if they want to invest in cool things, they can reach me at robertindries.com. And if they mention Keith, write your name or your podcast name or anything like that, I promise to reply personally.
Well, thank you so much, Robert, and blessings on what you're doing. You're inspiring. I love the fact that you pour into business and people's lives to help them to achieve their dream more effectively, but also that you've really figured out how to encourage people to be their better self. It's so easy for us to just, like you said, phone it in, but it really is important for us to really put the work in, to be passionate about what we've been given the gift to do. And that really is what makes life fulfilling. If you love what you do, if you give it your all, life is so much more enjoyable than just kind of coasting through life. So I'm glad you kind of reminded us of that today in our time together.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for the great questions. That's why, these came about.
Right. Well, blessings on what you do, Robert. Thanks so much for being on.
Thank you as well. See you.
Thanks for listening to Becoming Bridge Builder. If you enjoyed this episode and want to help support the podcast, please subscribe and share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review. To catch all the latest from me, you can follow me on Instagram at @bkeithhaney and on Getter and Twitter @RevHeadpin, or on his website at alightbreaksthrough.org. Thanks again, and tune in next time.
Do you know that most entrepreneurs hit a revenue ceiling and have no idea why? They're working harder, spending more money, running more ads, but revenue stays flat. My friend Dr. Noah St. John calls this the invisible break. He's giving our listeners a free revenue ceiling audit to help you see what's really holding you back. You'll get a free 30-day membership to Noah Bot, giving you access to Dr. Noah's 30 years of experience to help you reach your next level. But hurry, because there's only 50 available this month. So if you're tired of being stuck at the same revenue level and want to finally break through, get your free revenue ceiling audit at drnoahvault.com in the affiliate link that'll be listed in the show notes.